Yo, welcome everybody to TCR, Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to round number 7 for the, what is considered in my books, the pinnacle of Formula 1, the Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix. This is for what I consider the staple in Formula 1 here in Silverstone, and we are here not only for 50%, but we're here for a full 100% race distance here tonight. It is in the Elite Series, and as always in Season 17, it is myself, Steve Freeze, bringing you guys through tonight's proceedings. And we are both live on the YouTube and the Twitch. I encourage you guys to watch on your preferred platform. And it won't just be me for the entirety of the stream. I will be joined by a Silver Class champion from Season 16 of Zionical. He was supposed to be a full-time driver on the grid here tonight in Elite Series, but he had to drop down to reserve for whatever the case may be, and we have a little bit earlier start time here tonight due to the 100% race, so he wasn't able to get here on time anyway. But whenever Zionical gets on, he'll be able to join me in the commentary booth as Kim Luca goes provisional. For me, and I was just saying, you know, the British Grand Prix, you know, when I think of Formula 1, it's an iconic track. You look at maybe Monaco, some will say is historic for Formula 1. Spa, some will say Suzuka. For me, Silverstone is like, I don't know, the race that really dignifies the series in Formula 1. You know, what Indianapolis is for IndyCar, what Daytona is for NASCAR, what Le Mans is for the Endurance and IMSA. I think that the British Grand Prix is the race. Even though it's not like the crown jewel, like a Monaco race, what's considered into the Triple Crown. But the atmosphere here, the amount of true racing enthusiasts, fans that come to this track are always nice. I'd love to go to a British Grand Prix one day. And we have 16 drivers at the time being. There was a couple drivers joining in during qualifying. I'm pretty sure B-Tom might be able to join us as well tonight, but he said he might have to join in qualifying, so he's got about 11 more minutes to join the grid. It would be a nice addition to have him here tonight. Last week's winner was the championship leader of Forzan in the Alfa Romeo. Last week we had the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and it was a full wet race. And I do encourage you guys to just kind of skim through that if you missed it. Lots of ups and downs, some good racing. But a Baku 100%, that would even be a more challenging race. A Baku 100% full wet would be insane. I don't even know if the weather's on dynamic or if it's on clear. I know that there was a vote earlier this week, and I'm not actually too sure. I think they did vote for dynamic, but I actually hope it is dry the entire way. We've been, TCR has been doing the 100% race for quite a few seasons now. That I'm pretty sure the first time we did it was back in, I I want to say season 10. So we didn't always used to throw in a 100% race. There's been some seasons, if we had low numbers, we kind of, you know, scratched it. But we had enough running tonight to continue doing the 100%. And then, like I said, one more driver should be joining if B-Tom can get into the lobby. And we actually, when we did start the 100% races, we started here at Silverstone. We did 2 100% races, well, only one per season, but we started at Britain season 10 and then also season 11. Then I'm pretty sure we moved it. Season 12 would have been. Where'd we go then? Not actually too sure. I know we've gone to Miami, a finale. I don't know how many other places we've gone. I think we were supposed to run it last season, but I don't think we actually ended up doing it due to the attendance. Professional's going to get a little cheeky slipstream from his teammate of Jose. Working well together. Goes P5. I will say, this is a really good lap from Camden. Getting into the 25s is really good. Usually, oh, Remsley is saying dynamic won the vote, so it will be dynamic weather. So that'll shake things up a bit. I wouldn't mind a little bit of wet weather, as long as it's not the entirety of it. Bats goes provisional, 25.6. I think Speedin just finished his lap. He was able to go P3. Nice to see a Challenger Series driver reserving here tonight. We just got some word that Kluka will not be able to race anymore in the Challenger Series due to scheduling conflicts or whatever he has going on. But he will be moving up to Elite Series full-time, so he is now taking over for Zionicle in the McLaren for the rest of the season, as he can't race in Challenger any longer. And GT goes P2 in the Alpine. I think we can see possibly the lower laps. Maybe pole could be around a 0.3, a 0.2. If Forzan gets a real good lap in, he could probably get 25.1. Really low into the 25s, but mid 25s are solid. Let's see who else is. I think Remsley should be. Remsley, isn't Remsley not here? Ah, Remsley's not even here. He's watching. Camden's on a lap. I love the American flag helmet here. purple middle sector as well. Oh, almost some rear locking. Held on to it. Oh, and he lost a lot of time there with the throttle, and he was a tenth slower, which makes me believe he had a couple more tenths in that lap, because that third sector was not the tidiest. Here's Silent. We got a lot of team. Oh, and he goes for a half spin. Oh, he might hit the wall here. Yo-yo. And he might have just enough time to... And he's still on the hard tires. I don't know why the Alfa Romeos haven't really gone to do qualifying. Let me check if there's any penalties here. There was no incidents from last week, so I don't see. I don't know what Silent, man. Silent's having some issues here. That's going to be it for his quali. He ain't getting back in and doing it again. He was started on the hard tires, so I don't know why. I guess maybe they're trying to do a last to first. That's my only other thing. I guess quali doesn't really matter. Cause I guess there must have been a bet or something. Possibly. That has happened before. I'm pretty sure B-Tom has done that once before, but he didn't qualify for the 100% race. But usually that's when you clinch the championship and there's no more left to fight for the season. You don't usually see it this earlier on. F1 Nerd did a good job last week. He's coming out in his last attempt in qualifying. And B-Tom has joined, so he will be at the back of the grid as well. He'll be in the Alpine tonight. So this will be interesting. A little bit more, stuff to add to tonight's race. GT could snag a pole here. A few guys probably could. I mean, not that he would snag it. I mean, he'd be good enough. Bats would be good enough. Some of these guys would be good enough to get pole regardless. And there's a purple first sector. We have 22 seconds left in the qualify. Yeah, I see you, Zynical. I should have you added on my friends list. I really can't. I'm pretty sure I have you. So once you get on, I could always invite you. If not, you could probably send me one, or you could still just join the comms. We could try and figure it out. Coming to the line, GTR Lion goes P1 provisional with a .5, and we have a lot more cars to finish their laps. Sir Charles will be the next. He stays P8. Whisper in the McLaren, crawling to the line, will stay P9. A Mercedes of Jose. Oh, that was his teammate actually. He finished 4th. That's professional. A few Ferraris are coming around. This is Giggle. He will go ahead of his teammate in 13th. AlphaTauri of Bats finishes in P2. So he's not able to do it. F1 Nerd is up 2/10. Ooh, to the line. Stays 12th. But watch these Haas's. I really want to see what Camden's got here. He was quicker on the other laps, and he's going to go P3. A solid lap from him. And Jose will steal it. Jose gets the pole position for the British Grand Prix 100% race. That's what I'm talking about. Grabbed it right at the end. Snagged it away from GT. And there you have it, and a close qualifying in it as well. Top 3 all within a half or 500ths, half a tenth, and 6 drivers within 2/10. You can maybe throw in Raikkonen, that'd be top 7. And like I said, if these 3 did quali, it would probably be low 25, so a few more tenths quicker. But, you know, 100% race distance for those, I mean, like I said, we have been doing the 100% races, so all the way back from season 10. So if you're a TCR veteran, you've probably entered into a 100% race from time and time again. They're different than the 50%. You know, when you start these races, you're heavy on fuel. You're more prone to spinning. You know, it's going to be harder on the tire temps. The braking and your car's just going to feel heavy. So you're more prone to mistakes. The good thing about a 100% race is that the tire wear is actually very gradual, in that it doesn't wear as much as what a 50% would. So in a 50% race, the tire wears on the tires are kind of, I would say, a little bit more multiplied. In a 100% race, they're dragged out a little bit more. So you won't, if you struggle on tires, you won't notice it as much in the 100%. And Silverstone's usually not too bad anyway. So everybody's picking their setups and their fuel loads, and they're adjusting whatever they can on the setup, and hopefully we get into this sooner rather than later. We just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Last night was the Challenger Series, and next week we are at Imola. We haven't done that one in quite a bit. And for those who are new to TCR, I would recommend you guys to check the description for more information. We have our website there, our Discord where you can join, where we are the most active. And you can follow us on all socials at Trinity Racing. For those interested in doing iRacing, we're doing the IndyCar April 11th. As we're just getting onto the formation lap here. And we still have plenty of seats open here if anyone's interested in getting into some league racing on F123 before we start to wind down and get on to the new game, which it'll be released May 31st. So we'll be able to finish this season just in time, maybe 2-3 weeks shy of the new game coming out. So we have a little bit of time for the new game that we're all praying that ends up really nice. We have a little bit difference in strategy here. Some drivers towards the back, starting on the softs. That's going to be the team of the Ferraris. And you could throw B-Tom's name in there as well, who did race last week at Baku, the 50% full wet race. And he did kind of struggle. He didn't get a podium as he normally would. Might not have had the setup preparation. I think nowadays B-Tom is just hopping in more for when he can, not really taking it as seriously as he used to. And when you're a 5-time platinum class champion or a 5-time champ in TCR, you can do whatever you want. So he doesn't have to prove anything to nobody. But it'll be nice to see him still competing with the likes of Forzan, Silent, Jose, Bats, and company. But it is prediction time, and I'm going to have to go with the favorite, the championship leader. I'm going to go with Forzan. I think the closest one in speed to him is usually Lawrence, and he's not here tonight. So for that matter, I'm going to put Forzan for the win. 100% race. He has won a 100% race in the past. That was the Miami finale, I'm pretty sure back in season 14. So he's pretty used to this. Although I will put B-Tom P2 because he is good at Silverstone. It's not a track that's too difficult, and for the amount of experience and speed he has, he should be fine to get P2. And for P3, I'm going to put in Jose, the person on pole position. We do have Zynical coming in here, but we're going to start this race, and I will introduce you in just a time's being, because we are getting the 5 red lights here. So I'll get you an invite in a few laps once things settle down.
Of course, not a problem.
We have 5 red lights for round 7, the 100% race here for the British Grand Prix in the Elite Series. Bats Plus gets a flyer. He's already alongside Jose. They'll go side by side through 1 on these very heavy fuel load, and he'll take the lead in the AlphaTauri. GTR Lion and Camden going side by side into turns 3. GT will get it around the outside. As all the way back here, we have a Haas, and that is Raikkonen going for a spin, as well as Sir Charles, as well as F1 Nerd. There's debris everywhere, and we're gonna have some yellows here. Couple spins. No safety car for the time being. But there must have been contact in one of those first few corners, and a few drivers getting involved as we go through Maggots and Beckett's. Up on the hanger straight. Camden overtaking GT. I think he's got a nice shot to have a good day here. But he's going to have to try and settle in, see if he can get to the back of Jose. Silent makes a move on Giggle, and he's up to 11th. His teammates in 10th. As we have some drivers pitting here, including B-Tom, who might have picked up some damage on the opening lap. Sir Charles comes in speeding. So we have 4 drivers, and Charles calls it quits right there. He must not have been happy with the start of the race. Got himself a time penalty. I don't know if he got permanent damage, but you don't usually see that from Charles too often. He doesn't usually do any rage quits like that, but we're down to 16 just like that.
Well, I did see on the stream F1 Nerd with his front wing completely gone, possibly could have damaged Charles's rear. I know they've also come together previously, I believe Miami this season, so could be some frustration there.
Yep, and I just sent you an invite. We are joined by Season 16 Silver Class Champion of Zionicle. How are you doing? And welcome. I guess better now than never.
Yeah, I got stuck in some traffic. I was hoping to make it for the end of quali, but not quite. Joining up now, though.
Sweet. You have a nice gap here from the top 2, and 2 seconds between the top 2 and Camden, who, I don't know, he's in there. I thought he disconnected possibly, because when I'm on board with him it looks like that, but when I go on board with GT it seems like he's there. As we have a battle for the lead, Jose will take over.
Alright, now I'm fully
Camden must have a disconnect here because he's losing I don't know if it's me or Raikkonen's out as well. There must be some issues or something. I don't know. Man, there's a whole train here too. Man, look at this. From all the way from GT. Here we got Kluka 2x2. Up front we have Professional overtaking GT. And for the lead, Bats took over Jose. So, man, there is a whole bunch of stuff happening here. Oh, contact! Camden and his brother Kluka. And Camden is all the way down. He'll be back into 11th position. Wow, he lost a lot there.
They actually end up right next to each other again.
And you might have to hear some yelling from room to room as Giggle tries to, he goes onto the grass there, and they're right back with each other, side by side.
So it seems like a big part of this race is going to be how quickly Forzan and Silent can push through the field. Forzan starting to make some good progress here up to 5th.
Yeah, and I was saying earlier, like, you know, sometimes people think, oh, it's a 100% race, we can kind of take our time and, you know, wait for safety cars and wait for the fuel load to come down before you start pushing, but you still have to be with the group. So, I mean, there's a big group here from Professional all the way but down. Pretty much the entire field is with each other, besides those who had the issues. You got the 2-car gap out in front, but there's no guarantee that it stay, you know, that we're going to get a safety car. It could easily go to the end. Because Silverstone, you do have wrecks here and there, but it's not a street track by any means, so.
Certainly, definitely not any guarantees there. So Forzan and Silent won't just want to be sitting back for a while. Forzan already down to 30 ERS moving through the field. I'm going to check where Silent is. Yeah, 25, so Both of them pushing through their ERS. Not a big problem this early, though, obviously. You do want to make up those positions.
And he's up to P5 right on the back door of GTR. Welcome, Apprentice. He says, oh, 100%. Yeah, it's 100% race day. Pretty sure he's seen one or two of those.
And he does get that overtake done on GTR line, up to 4th now.
Yeah, he made some good progress. Kept the wing clean in the opening few laps. Now he's we got a battle for the lead, and these two they're going to work together. Jose and Bats, they came up through when we had the Golden Class at the time on Wednesdays, ironically, and then they moved up to the Platinum Class. But these two kind of came in together, as well as Silent, and they all kind of battled. Bats Plus was the champion out of that group that came up, which is interesting. But they put on races since they got here, back in the Golden Class. I'm pretty sure that was like season 9. I don't even know. It's been a long time, but they've been racing for 2 years between the three of them.
Mm-hmm. Way before my time in TCR,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's always cool when you get a good group of people that you've been racing for, many years. Not even many races, many years.
Now this is interesting to me up front. Bats and Jose running through their ERS a little more than I would have thought, given the possibility that they could trade DRS, both down into the 40s. It's a bit interesting to me, but maybe Jose really wants to build a gap there.
Yeah, he just used a little bit of battery. He got outside that 1 second gap as Forzan picks off Professional into Stowe. He'll be up to P3, and he's going to work on that gap for the rest of the race. He'll be fine and dandy. Yeah, I mean, if you can try and work a gap, I'd work the gap like Jose's doing. I mean, might as well. You have all race to really, if you use a lot of your battery like Silent has, he's under the 10%. Once you get to a group, like now he's in the DRS train with GT ahead of him, you have the entire race to get that battery back. You can kind of go in stints. Like early on you cannot push, then you are able to push more, so it's all determinant on that.
Certainly. And you've got Silent is on the hards here too, so being in 6th compared to Forzan, just a couple seconds behind in this DRS train, so not too bad for Silent either, given I know how little they've practiced here.
It's a pretty easy track to stick with someone's DRS. You're going to see some DRS trains, and back I guess a few games ago when these cars didn't get as close as they are now, the skill gap wise, it's pretty hard to overtake around Silverstone because of the dirty air and stuff like that, but it's not as much a factor as it used to be. As Whisper has a lot of wheel spin, not the cleanest first sector on him, but uses some battery and gets back in line.
Yeah, and not a bad start for Whisper pilots. Speeding, obviously benefiting from some of the chaos early in the race, but they're sticking to the back of silent, which is, not bad for them. Forzen also starting to chew down on that gap to Bats, but Jose really has some pace here, which Prof sort of mentioned in the chat before the race, said he thought Jose had a really good shot here. So
yeah, I know Bats is on the controller, which in my experience, Silverstone's always been a wheel track, and I still think it is. I mean, you want to be on the wheel here through the S's, through a lot of the corners. It's all about keeping a steady wheel, and the controller, in my opinion, still that the biggest forte is the traction zones.
I can definitely speak to that as somebody who was racing controller last year. I mean, if you remember, Silverstone was a nightmare for me, one of my worst races on the year. The S's are really tough. It just doesn't feel like a great track to race on controller, but Bats is a lot faster than even I was on controller, and still doing all right for themselves here. Not totally losing that gap to Forzen or anything.
And a good positive sign here is Professional, since Forzen got past him, is able to stick with this, the 1 second, and he's got some battery to play with, which he might want to use a little bit of as GT. I don't know if he was going on a move, so I think Silent made a mistake because he's getting overtaken by Whisper. Goes back to 7th.
Yeah.
Back again. No, you might look for a move here. There was a big crash here yesterday between Speedy and Chabar. Hit the pit lane.
Yeah, a lot of chaos at that spot in the track. Because you also had Pine trying to get into the pit lane and just ragdolling Kluka in one of the highest G-force crashes I think I've seen in TCR. So definitely need to be careful around that part of the track. But like you said, Prof on a very good ERS number for sure, and GTR Lion in his 70s. Top 3 all around 30% right now.
This top 6 looks pretty strong. I mean, even GT, I mean, he lost a little bit battling with Silent, and when Professional got by him, it's about 3 seconds the gap, but I think he should be able to get into a nice rhythm here. He is on the hard tire as well. That's something to mention. Silent as well. Maybe that's why he made that mistake the previous lap.
Yeah, Silent and Lion both on the hard tire. If they're able to clear that gap to Whisper soon, it really will just be about building up the pace together as this first stint goes on, trading spots. And as that hard tire really starts to come in towards the end of the stint, maybe trying to close it at that point. But obviously still the medium, the preferred tire at the moment.
Usually when we run the Silverstone race, when it is the 50% race, it's always a one-stop. Well, now, the recent games, it's always been usually one-stops, but I'm coming from a time period when it didn't always used to be like that. But because of how long the pit lane here is, very hard if the races stay green to do a 2-stop at Silverstone. Even under 100% race, you got to do a 1-stop. hard to medium, medium to hard. Unless you get, you know, safety cars and stuff like that you can play with, get a free pit stop. But the pit lane here it's not only long, but it's a slow pit lane too. As we have now Forzan within DRS of Bats Plus. Pilot gets past Whisper.
Yeah, Forzan and Prof making their way up to the back of Bats. Gonna be interesting. Prof still on 50% ERS. Forzan on 20, so he's a bit closer to where Bats is. I don't know if I expect Bats to be able to hold this for long, but the longer he does, the better it is for Jose, obviously.
Pilot's light is a blinking. Whisper will go for the boost speed and was right behind, thinking 3 wide, but that will not happen. Nice little battle between this trio who lost a little bit from the 2 drivers ahead, who was able to get out of that train. That's GT and Silence. Silence takes over for P5, so that was good for these two to get away from that train.
Certainly. That gap is up to 5 seconds. Not a huge concern yet in a 100% race, although I don't know if either of them are going to be able to stop Forzan or Jose, as Forzan gets past Bats going into sector 3 there. So certainly, I think at this point you'd have to see Forzan as the favorite here. Jose also with really good pace. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to match him. A lot of Forzan's biggest competitors, like B-Tom, who had the accident early, Rems, who hasn't made it, going to be tough. And Lawrence, who's out tonight as well. So.
Right. Yeah, Remsley was saying he had some computer issues, which is kind of unfortunate to see, because I think he would be right up in this group, up right there leading. Would be cool to see him, but instead we have B-Tom and the other Alpine for tonight. He's been picking the Ferrari when he's been reserving, but they're both the full-time drivers showed up tonight. Plus, he couldn't even really choose. Well, no, he could have. He did join within quali, so. But he's riding back here in 13th, 10 seconds back from Raikkonen. So he's gonna need he's really gonna need a safety car to get in the conversation for a win. As we have a
and there's a yellow.
That's F1 Nerd, but in the pit lane. I guess he has to call it for a quits for some reason. He had a good race last week. He was actually battling with the likes of Lawrence, B-Tom, and Jose in the wet, full wet race last week. He had some good speed as and he's racing as a challenger reserve, or challenger driver reserving here tonight.
Yeah, F1 Nerd, a very solid driver, but especially, I would say, in the wet. I remember Brazil finale last season. I just had no chance of keeping up with him in the wet. Thankfully, I didn't need to beat him there, but he's always been really solid pace-wise when it comes to the wet races, I think.
Yeah, there's those certain drivers that they either have it in the wet or they need, they have it right out of the bat. Some real life drivers like Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton, or even Vettel was quite good in the wet. Alonso, obviously all champions there, but
And Forzan getting closer and closer to the back of Jose here. Equal footing on ERS too, so it's not looking like Jose's got too much longer in the lead, but who knows? I guess we will see.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to get to him, and then it's another to pass him, and another to break that DRS, so we'll see how that ends up going. And Forzan is not just catching Jose, but Baps and Professional is catching Jose, because Forzan kind of brought the two with him.
Yeah, and that is very good for those two. They're certainly getting a lot of base on Silent and Lion being able to benefit from that. Although, I will say my interval... Okay, there we go. So yeah, an 8-second gap now between the two hard runners and Professional, so that is tough. You'd have to be hoping that soon those hards will really start to come into their own, although I'm not too familiar with how the wear is on Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean, the wear usually isn't so bad. It's actually pretty low tire wear, in my opinion, although I haven't seen much on this game. But given the 100%, you know, I was saying before you joined the stream that you're doing the 100% race, the tire wear is a lot more gradual because you have a lot more laps on the tire. So you're not going to feel much of a difference when you have the tire fall off. As we have another driver retiring in the pit lane, and that is Dirt Shark.
And there's a 3-second penalty for GTR Lion. Good news for Silent, I suppose. As well as you having a giggle picking up a 3-second warning as well. Yeah, Ramsey, we were talking about that. We are expecting probably a one-stop unless we get a certain timing with the safety car.
Here's a scheduled pit stop for Whisper. First one on the mediums, which I think is very early.
Yeah, I definitely agree there.
Because some drivers might not know that you can go to a full one stop at 100% race. Because in real life it would be. But, you know, when you do the league racing 50% race, you think that's a one stop. So if you're doing a 100%, oh well, then you can't do a one stop. No, but for those who have experience in it, know that the tires last longer in 100%. You know, they change the model depending on the distance you do.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that until late in the season last year that the tire wear will scale with the length of the race.
Right.
Definitely possible Whisper didn't know that, because that is a bit early. Now they're going to have to make those hards go, what is it, 35 laps now?
Something like that. I mean, usually that might have been when he would have pit in a 50% race. So he went around, what, 15, 16 laps on those mediums, and he went to the hards.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. But yeah, no, they're going to go pretty deep. They'll probably do a full 26 laps on the mediums or more.
What is definitely interesting at the front, Prof is Professor starting to slowly fall off the back of Bats and Forzan there.
Yeah, he wasn't able to keep with the DRS, so it's so powerful because once you lose it, you know, it's hard to use your battery and hit your laps, hit your marks to, you know, stick with them. You know, there's only so much you can do. kind of what we saw when Jose passed Bats earlier on in this race, got outside that DRS. He started to drop him. But now, Forzan is with Jose.
Yeah, he's officially made it into DRS. That's big to have gotten it that lap, because their pace actually isn't as different as I would have expected. I do think Forzan is a bit faster, but Jose really does have some good pace there. What's going to be really interesting for me is to monitor that delta between Silent and Professor, start to see when/if the hards start to come in. And Silent.
Yeah.
Did Silent just pit?
He did. He's getting off him, so I wonder if he's putting the mediums on and seeing how long he can get on those.
That is interesting. Even if you're going to pit a bit early on the hards, I would have thought, you're going a bit longer than this. Maybe a 2-stop. I don't know. This is interesting.
Yeah. No, and your Rems is saying in the comments that he would have guessed the medium soft would have been the best strategy, but it's almost like, think of real life when you think of 100%. Would you have done a 2-stop in real life at Silverstone? The answer would be no. Unless the tires can't make it. Let's say that, like, I think there was one year, the tires, it was weird, that one, a couple years ago, there was, I think
all
they
the
did
explosions and punctures, yeah.
Because the tires couldn't make it. That's the only reason why it was a 2 or more stop, because the tires kept blowing up.
Yeah.
But if they can last the distance, you'd rather use the distance over, because the pit lane is really what does it here. If they really shortened up the pit lane, because it doesn't have to be that long, because the entrance, the pit lane starts before you make that turn in the pit lane, because I guess they don't want drivers going full beans all the way and then crashing into that wall. It wouldn't be enough. If you were to crash into the wall, that you can't do it like that. And then the miles per hour is really slow too. I think it's less than the 50 miles per hour, which is usually the base. I think it's like 38, 37 miles per hour.
Yeah, somewhere around there. 58 kph. Unfortunately, I do not have my measurements on Freedom units at the moment, but you having a giggle just coming out of the pits onto that hard tire, for them definitely makes a little bit more sense, as they started on the soft, still went a couple laps longer than Whisper and Silent did. So
here we go. Forzan overtakes Jose. Jose maybe goes off track for a slight moment. So after leading most of the 20 laps that he was in charge, he is now in second with Bats Plus right behind him. Just kind of how they started the race. Oh, and he gets a time penalty.
that is a tough track limits too.
Yeah. It didn't, his rear right went out. I don't know if he had his front 2 in, but
It's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Forzan's going to want to get out of DRS as quick as possible. Still has around 25% to use. He might be dumping that soon to try and break that gap. With the fastest lap on those mediums. Still not totally sure what the plan for Silent is.
yeah, that stumps me.
Yeah, still, he's fastest guy on the track now, but, I'd say that's to be expected with the compound and the pace that Silent generally has.
He gets past Whisper for 8th. I know the 100% races are long, and for those who had issues, you know, on the opening few laps, it could be a very lonely, boring race, you know, for a lot of these drivers. You know, Raikkonen, B-Tom, Camden, Giggle, they're all kind of separated now, when at the beginning they were, you know, a part of the that train, and that kind of fizzled out. And the really only thing you gotta wait for that is the safety car, and there's really no guarantee that it's gonna come. So you can go all race, like B-Tom can drive all race to get 10th and grab a point. You know, that's a hard-earned point. As he's coming in now, I wonder. Oh, he speeds. Is he calling it, or is he pitting now?
19 laps on the mediums. I would have thought that
Maybe Hart's to the end.
because, yeah. Let's see.
He put on
Another
mediums.
set of mediums.
I'm scratching my head. I'm confused.
Interesting. well, I do believe B-Tom started on the soft, hit for the mediums when he came in after the damage. So I mean, he could take these mediums 30 laps. You would think he would have gone a few more on those though to split it a bit more evenly. Although maybe the high fuel load on those mediums was doing a bit more wear than he expected. Not totally sure. But talk about no man's land. 20 seconds behind 13th now. And yeah, Jose and Bats keeping up. Jose especially doesn't seem to have too much of an issue keeping up with Forzan with that DRS. He's actually building up ERS up to 50%. If it wasn't for those 3 seconds of penalties, still be in a very good spot, I think.
We got some major field spread going on. Now the issue, I just wanted to point this out. If B-Tom, let's say, like he's at a position right now where he can't afford many mistakes. And not that not that I'm worried about him. But if he pits, let's say, now, he can go a lap down. So he can't pit. Even if a safety car comes out, like, you really can't go a lap down because of how this game works, and you never know how if you could unlap yourself. If you can't, I still never knew how that works. But he's just got to watch out for that. If the safety car does come out now, or if the top 3 don't pit for a lot more, B-Tom does have to come in because he has to use that other tire compound.
Well, I don't think does, because I think he started on the soft. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
4 mediums after lap 1.
Yeah, so he could go to the end. Yeah, now that makes sense. Yeah, I guess then he could use these mediums to the end. We have someone in the pits that's Pilot.
Yeah, now it would really start to make sense. Not necessarily right now, but in the next handful of laps to see some of these medium guys come in. And maybe even the hards if Lion and Raikkonen don't feel like the hards are gaining anything here, because it doesn't seem like going 25, 26 laps on the mediums is much of a problem for the front runners.
And it's all dependent on when they're going to pit, because they're out on track right now, 1, 2, 3, all within a half a second. But the next pit sequence is going to dictate whether or not they can stay with each other, because that's the time right then. Once someone pits, once they show their cards, that's when you can make a gap, use your battery, entering the pits, use it on your out lap, in lap, and try and work on an under or overcut. But if I see any of body pit, I'd probably follow them in, especially if I'm bats, because Jose's got a time penalty he's working with. So if Forzan pits, if I'm bats, I'm pitting, because he doesn't really have the speed out on, on track compared to Forzan, so he does have to work with the DRS. That's how his race is being run. He needs the DRS because Forzan started out in the back. He came all the way to catch bats and passed them. So the only thing keeping him in line is the DRS. So I wouldn't want Forzan to pit. The only other thing I would do is pit before Forzan. That's something bats could do. Work on an undercut.
Well,
and here it is. And exactly what I said. He sees Forzan pit. Bats comes in as well.
Yeah, in the 8/10 gap, so it looks like he is going to be able to keep that DRS at least as they exit the pits. The DRS gap, anyway.
And sometimes you run races like that. Bats is a smart guy. He's been league racing quite a while. And some days, you know whether you have the speed over certain people. And you know if you have the speed in your setup and yourself, against others. And you can't lie to yourself. If you don't got it, you don't got it. But you got to use other tactics, like he just did there, to stay within the DRS. And he is there or thereabouts. So he knows what he's got to do. He's right at that borderline. So we'll see if he can. This is where he has to. He's got to perform right now.
Yeah, he really got to hit these corners well, dump that DRS, and hope Forzan doesn't use all of his to get out of it by the next one.
And Forzan's got a slight battery advantage, 32 to 27. So not a lot. 5%, so it depends who's going to be using what.
And both dumping on this back straight here.
Yep, we got the DRS detection point coming up, and it's right. Oh, it's going to get close.
All about the chicane.
Oh, I don't know if he got it, and let's see.
I think he might have just missed it.
Ah, he missed it, and that's a bummer, because you know why? He used all his battery and everything to make sure he could get the DRS, and if he did, he would have gained some time, and now he has nothing left to use, so he is going to be losing time. The only thing he can do right now is save the battery, wait for Jose to pit, see where he comes out, and try to use Jose as a helping hand. But that's some league racing tactics right there. That's what I love to see.
Something that's also pretty interesting at this point in the race, speeding within the DRS gap of GTR Lion now. Obviously, they've used a lot more battery. Lion's still on 60, speeding on 0, or back up to 8 at this point. I don't think those hards really are ever going to be coming into own. What just happened with Forzan? Is that a... Did you happen to catch what happened?
I did not, but I caught the right at the end, hit the wall, and you know what? That might be equipment issue.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought Forzan was pushing too hard there.
Because you don't crash like that. I mean, this is more like a hairpin. What is this? What's that corner name? Left field?
Left field, maybe.
Or is that club? Not club. Brooklyn. Brooklyn's one of those. Tell me whoever's watching. Tell me what corner that is. Go ahead, Rems. Rems will know.
Remsley in chat. Remsley and Lawrence in the chat are going to be thanking their lucky stars for that, points-wise anyway.
Yeah, because that'll go down as a miss, this this won't count, towards Forzan's championship. We do drop 2 races at the end of the season. So this is obviously one of his worst. At DNF, he'd finished 14th. So,
Forzan already did not participate though in Bahrain, so he's now up to his limit in terms of 0 points races.
Yeah, and now if he gets any more, then that's when it starts affecting him.
And yeah,
when it really will.
You'd have to think something with the equipment there. Not a very high-speed area of the track if I'm nailing on where he crashed. So I just don't know.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's you got to go break into that corner. And it's not high speed at all.
Oh no! Wow. Forzan says his pedal broke.
I told you. I was literally going to say. I was going to say it. That equipment issue, but it looked like a brake failure. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And that literally was.
Wow. So tough to say here. Wow, this is a really interesting spot now at the front because you've got Professor and Jose on the softs because they started on the mediums. Ideally, I think the tire to finish this race on would be the mediums, but the top medium runner is Lion with 3 seconds of penalties, and the driver in first place on the softs has 3 seconds of penalties. So really just got interesting for who's going to take this race now. Unfortunately for Forzan, of course. You never want to see a hardware issue like that.
Well, that has huge implications on the championship because his pedal broke. So we don't know how bad that pedal breakature is. I know he could do controller. I think last season when B-Tom was still racing in Platinum, he had an issue as well with his equipment. And he's always had equipment issues, to be honest. And he had to go on to the controller. So,
and yeah, thankfully...
And he's pretty quick on the controller, too, but...
Exactly.
It's not like he can't race, right? So if he has to get new equipment, that'll take some time. And if he does decide to do that, is silent. Basically stopped on track. I don't know if he had a Delta he was working with.
And this is going to be real interesting. B-Tom is going to be holding up the safety car for another lap here, you'd think. Unless, well, no, he might, if he full pushes, he may be able to catch the pack here.
Yeah, they might wait for him.
I think it's gonna be tough. Might be able to play.
They might wait. It didn't say in this lap, or did it say in this lap?
I think we'll find out going into Sector 3.
Right. Okay. So he should be able to catch him. And he said a equipment issue now. In that, I would say maybe his throttle stuck is maybe what I'm thinking. Either his throttle stuck, because even if your brakes didn't work in that corner, because it was more the hairpin, the where you kind of do the double apex or you kind of hug the whole bottom. You already did most of your braking for that left-hander, so if his brakes didn't work for the next right-hander, I feel like he'd still be able to slow down. Like, I don't think he would have made it to the wall. If he's turning, you'd think he maybe would spin.
Maybe, yeah, or just a spin, not totally wrecking the car. And the safety car does stay out, so another lap. This will definitely play into the hands of the soft runners for sure. Every lap this stays out is going to be a positive, and it's going to be interesting. I think with the safety car staying out as long as it has, I think Jose might be the favorite here, but that 3-second penalty really does make it interesting.
Yeah, although the only thing you have to think of, you know, maybe Bats or Professional have a few warnings, right, from earlier on in the race, or they could get some more. I mean, we're gonna have 22 more laps to go, so you know we're more than halfway into this race, and it's really just getting started because Forzan's out. That was my pick. I didn't think that was happening today. We have an equipment issue.
Yeah.
Silent had a questionable strategy, and he's still back in 7th. B-Tom had issues on the opening lap, had to pit, and his race is just starting now.
Yeah.
He worked for 30 laps. You know, he did that, like, that was a lot of work for him. Not, you know, like 30 laps of put head down, you know, change your wing. He had a pit stop. He really did the whole first stint by himself. So that's all like head down, keep going. You don't like that's all, you know. That's a good part of the race, more than half the race that he did that. Now it's just starting.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he can do from 13th.
And something that might be a little interesting that I haven't mentioned yet, I do suspect that even with the extended safety car, mediums could be the best tire here. It could be close. And Silent is the highest running medium runner without a penalty at the moment. So
yeah, I do see that.
I don't know that he will be faster than Jose, but he could be faster than everybody else on the track, I think.
Yeah, and Bats with the hards, I feel like it's going to struggle. So we'll see. We'll see how this shakes and bakes as we have Jose leading us to green. Lap 31 of 52. And we're back going racing.
And predictably, with that soft to hard gap, gets a great jump on Bats, almost a second ahead already.
Yeah, we'll see how Professional fares. If he could get past Bats and maybe catch Jose as Silent gets the position on Whisper. Both the Haas's and Kluka are back mated with everybody else now.
Silent up one position over Whisper already, trying to get past Speedin here.
Almost hits the back of him.
Oh. Gotta be careful here. But you know why he's got that sense of urgency, being behind a hard runner through these S's. Oh my gosh, this has me nervous.
Wow, and he really didn't give him much room there. That's like he just bullied Speedin over. He gave him nothing. He put him all the way to the marbles. Oh, Whisper. It's Silence and not having the. He comes back onto the track dangerously. Almost hits Kluka. Almost hits the back of Luca.
That's going to be so frustrating for Silent after having gained 2 positions on that opening lap. Just gets pushed just right off the track by Whisper.
Kind of ironic. Silent was so close to the back of Speedin, and then Whisper says, "All right, I could get closer. Watch me do it." As B-Tom finally makes position here, gets 12th.
Yeah, and anything B-Tom can get in these first couple laps on the hards will be huge. He really could be struggling until late in the stint. And even late in the stint, these mediums will probably still be faster generally. So yeah, you in hindsight is 2020, but hitting onto those second set of mediums early, definitely unfortunate for B-Tom. If he could have had a fresh set of mediums here, he definitely could have made a lot of moves up the field.
And still Silent, close to Giggle. Oh, he spins him out and he hits him in the wall. That is...
No, that's not going to be good. Do we have a Safety car or a VSC. Giggle getting back onto the track as quickly as he can, so I don't think we will.
I'll tell you exactly what happened there. I mean, we saw it the lap before, Silent, when he got so close to Speedin, and they exited the S section. Speedin had his car all the way to the right. He couldn't go more right. And on the previous lap, Silent, he had the entire track, but he chose to stay right on the side of Speedin's car. So Speedin couldn't go any more left because they would have had contact. And that's kind of what happened this lap, because Silent exited the S section. He got alongside Giggle, but Giggle, I think, was trying to get the slipstream from Speedin ahead, and he didn't realize Silent wasn't moving with him. Silent kept his line straight, and Giggle wanted to do the slipstream. And and what's this? Speedin gets spun out.
Oh no! This race has taken a turn for the worse since the restart. Oh, such a clean race for the first half. Now we're really getting ugly. And yeah, looking at that replay, going back to the Giggle incident, definitely looked like a similar situation, but unfortunately, unlike Speedin, Giggle was not fully aware that Silent had that nose in, tried to go over, and it was trouble from there.
And Kluka gets Camden. He's up to 8th.
And now Professor passed Bats Plus on these softs, equal with Jose on the battery, so going to be very interesting to see if he can hold up in terms of pace with Jose. I'm going to check for incident to see if either Jose or Professor are close to another penalty. So yeah, Professor is 1 track limits away from a penalty, and so is Jose. So both 1 second away from a penalty. Jose near 6 seconds. Professor could easily get his first 3 seconds. So still some intrigue here for sure. If Professor can keep it clean, Jose gets a penalty. This is still very much open for the take.
Yeah, and what's interesting going towards the end of this race, the tires are going to shift on us. Because the guys who were leading are on the softs. You got a whole group on the mediums. And then the Bats out there on the hard. So, as we get closer, how is that going to work? As we go 3 wide for a moment there, B-Tom grabs the brothers. He says, "I'm your father."
And yeah, B-Tom, like we said, if he's making these moves, and he'll be glad about that chaos ahead of him, up to 8th place on the hards, and it's maybe not the perfect scenario, but it will just get better for him as the stint goes on. So all in all, considering how it looked at one point, this could still be a solid result for B-Tom. Really, really unfortunate for Silent, though, with that incident. I do think he could have had a shot at this race, or at least 2nd place on those medium tires. I don't know if that's going to be possible anymore, though.
It's kind of, I don't think he was there last week, and, he's been missing some races and, having some lackluster performances here and there. Not really the season that we maybe thought he would have had, based on how he did last season and, actually the last couple of seasons. And when B-Tom wasn't racing this season, I thought, Professional, Silent, a few of these guys would kind of step up because the big dog kind of moved out of that, he went to the doghouse. So, now, the big question coming into this season was, can Forzan have a consistent season? Because we know he has speed, and to start the season, he's won races, he's been the championship leader, but now with, issues equipment-wise, he might have to go back to controller. How quick will he be now?
Yeah, because
it's wide open, honestly.
Really, really, and like we said with Forzan, you know, he is fast on controller. He's not hopeless on controller.
No.
But is he a race winner on controller when you've got guys like Lawrence, Remsley, and potentially B-Tom and Silent as well? So that could really make things interesting. Not to say they weren't already with Remsley's good form as of late.
Oh,
And
there it
Prof
is.
Gets it. Yeah, Prof gets his first penalty.
And you know, Remsley, he's had some speed to start the season, and he's not here because of PC issues. So I feel like the drivers are liking already the drop of the 2 races that they have, because otherwise, you know, they might have lost some interest here and there. You miss a race here, you have an issue here. You know, you're not fully out of it. Back, you know, prior to this, you know, if you didn't show up to one race, or if one race you had a disconnect, or if one race you DNF'd, or if one race you had an equipment issue, you're done. You're not winning no championship. You know, in our top level, most of the time was the platinum class. You weren't able to do it. In order to win, you had to show up every single race. You had to finish well inside the points every single race to have a real shot.
And we've got a couple messages in the chat from our Prada saying, why did people pit to softs with 20 laps left? And Bats is looking good for a big W. I don't know if I agree with that. Obviously, for pitting to softs, the soft runners had to choose between hard and the softs. The medium tire being ideal here, but they started on mediums. Obviously, it's going to be a tough call there, but it seems like from what we've seen so far this race, the hards are not ideal to be on around here. So I can definitely understand why they made that choice. With that said, if Jose picks up that next penalty, Bats is in a really decent spot.
Well, now Jose can kind of be a little bit more comfortable because Forzan's out of the race. I think that's really the only person who's quicker than Jose.
Yeah. If Jose plays this smart, keeps the software down, manages his battery, and avoids track limits, I don't think that'll be a problem. But when you've got a race win in hand and you're not somebody who is, you know, constantly winning races, not to say Jose doesn't have pace, you know, that stress could get to him. It's not over yet.
Yeah. Well, Jose's usually good for one race a season, one race win a season. He usually pops out and grabs one somewhere because, you know, he doesn't show that. Although this season he's been showing up to most races, but in previous seasons he'd miss a few, and then sometimes, you know, he'd have good performances, but you know, he's quick enough to win races. You know, so if he's prepared and he's good at the track, which it seemed like coming into this thing. Who said he had a shot? Professional said.
Yeah, his teammate certainly had some confidence in him.
And going through practice, you know if who's going to be the contenders, because when you go through the practice and preparation, you start seeing the lap times, and if you're practicing with some others and you can't match the times, then your confidence kind of goes down. That's why, you know, some people like to practice with everybody to get as much intel as possible, and then some people like to practice alone, but then they don't get the intel, so they'll show up and they don't know where they're going to be. Are they going to, you know? So some people practice alone or with their teammate. Some people like to do sessions with others, whoever's open to do it. And then you can kind of get a sense of what to expect, you know, coming into race day.
Mm-hmm.
I've always personally preferred to stick with my teammate and, you know, whoever else I usually practice with. So I don't usually I never showed my cards usually.
Yeah, I didn't, I definitely don't like to, at least in silver, when my pace was actually relevant, before I joined Elite, I didn't love to show the pace, but I also wasn't, necessarily trying to hide it actively. It's gonna be interesting though. Bats is really gonna need these softs to start falling off soon. And I just don't know how long it's gonna take.
Here's Kluka, very close to B-Tom. Does not make the pass. I know B-Tom's really working right now on those hard tires. It just doesn't seem to be working just yet.
Yeah, definitely a hard path to keep up with all these medium runners. And that duo of brotherly love right behind him, although maybe not quite today with that incident getting together earlier in the race. But yeah, those two on the mediums definitely could be stressing about it and on the hards.
Here we go, Bats Plus overtaking Professional.
And
GTR Lion looking to get Professional as well, but runs out of room there.
That's going to be big because if Bats can keep that gap around 5.5 seconds, all the pressure goes on to Jose to not make a mistake here. And let me go check and see if Bats is close to any penalties. Although Bats is normally a very, very consistent, very clean racer. Yeah, and they only have one warning, so I don't see them picking up any time penalties. It's all going to be about what they can do. Although, Professor does get him back right here.
Oh, but Bats gets back under the over-under, but he's going to give it to Professional. Now, this is not good for both of these to keep fighting. Now, Professional might be doing this on purpose to help his teammate. Because this is a great opportunity for the Mercedes to grab, 1-2 points, or one, Professional
Double
drops
podium.
with his penalty. He might be able to get a podium. So.
Although Silent really could still get second here. Quietly snuck up to fifth, and yeah, I still have to go back to that incident Silent had shortly after the start. He could have had a shot at the win today, I think, if not for that incident. Not necessarily on track, but with Jose's penalties and Silent's lack thereof.
Well, GT had a wing under Bats there, and there might have been a little bit of contact. They settle it out. Charles says in the
Yep.
oh, you're just gonna say.
Just about to read.
Charles says in the comments, C-Freeze treats his setups like they're government secrets, and you damn right I do. Because how many race wins have those government contracted secret setups gave me?
And Silent picks up his penalties there, so there goes all I said about Silent now.
Bats is like, all right. He wants a safety car because all he has to do is but he's just going side by side now.
Don't want a safety car with himself involved though, and there's a lot of traffic right here. But yeah, Bats.
Oh, Silent almost loses it. Pilot almost goes to the back of him.
Silent driving it on the edge since this restart. Absolute chaos for him. And yeah, without a safety car, it is looking like it's going to be pretty comfortable for Jose. Although there's a yellow in Sector 1.
Just a local spin. Yeah. Local
yeah,
spin.
not going to be enough for a full safety car.
B-Tom gets Whisper, who's up to 7th. Only is a 2.5 away from this lead group. I guess for P2 that would be. GT gets Professional for 2nd.
B-Tom with no penalties either, so he could be looking to make some moves after the race is settled up the board. That'll be interesting to monitor as well.
Slots back in. Who's this? Silent. Goes around the outside of bats. And they're very close to each other. They could both take each other out here. They're Professional is trying to go around the outside. Does not make it happen. Slots back in. Who's this? Silent. Goes around the outside of bats. And they're very close to each other. They could both take each other out here. They're like inside of each other.
Yeah, wait.